Welcome to Shovel Talk, a podcast for economic developers. From your friends at the Golden Shovel Agency.
Welcome, Shovelheads. Producer Darren back with another episode of Shovel Talk. We got a fun one today. CEO Aaron Bressois is joining Bethany today to talk with Cory Hepola, a gentleman who cut his teeth in the broadcast journalism back up in my old stomping grounds of the Twin Cities on WCCO Radio and Care 11 TV. He is now host of My Town, and during this discussion, he's going to review how he's spotlighting the charm, resilience, and opportunity in rural communities across America. Kind of sounds like GSA's wheelhouse, doesn't it? From small town kid to TV anchor and back again. So let's give the mic to Bethany and meet Cory Hepola.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Shovel Talk. I am your host, Bethany Quinn, and I am so happy to be here and introduce you to our guest today. But before we do, I am joined by our CEO, Aaron Bressois, today. It's so happy to have another person co-hosting our podcast. Welcome.
Thanks. Glad to be here.
And Aaron, why don't you introduce our illustrious guest today?
Oh, boy. Thanks for having me. I'm so excited to introduce this guy. Everybody meet Cory Hepola. He is a founder and creator of the My Town documentary series. That's not only is he like a really talented storyteller, he's an Emmy Award-winning broadcaster, but boy, did it catch Golden Shovel's eyes. This guy has been going into rural communities and finding all of the secrets that people don't really know about them and bringing them out in ways that are so exciting. As those familiar with Golden Shovel, we do so much storytelling work, and we see a master storyteller out there. We want to bring them in to share with you all of his secrets. I think I'd like to start, Cory. First of all, welcome.
Yeah, Aaron, Bethany, thanks so much for having me, and really appreciate the kind words. You're way too kind, but I will say, really excited to be here, and really thankful for the work that you guys all do too. I think we share a mission here. So just thank you for having me on.
Yeah, thank you for being here. And we do share a mission, and what that is getting people excited with rural America to find these communities, to find the quality of life that's available there, to be able to see all the exciting things that happen that so often get overlooked. But before we get into the My Town series, I'd like to hear a little bit about your personal journey and inspiration for this. You have such a story yourself. You've had a successful career in broadcast journalism. What even brought you back to small town America with My Town?
Yeah, it's such a good question. I knew what I wanted to do at 8 years old. I told my parents at 8 that I was going to be a TV news anchor in Minneapolis. That was the only thing I ever wanted to do. And thankfully, I grew up in a small town in western Minnesota, town of about 2,500 people called Perham, Minnesota. And, we had a great school district, right? Which you see a lot in small towns. You've got great support, a great educational system. And so I had great teachers. We had great programs, and I was able to get introduced to different forms of media at an early age. Even in high school. And so, went through that in high school, chose to go to Concordia College in Moorhead, Minnesota, and started to got an internship at the Fargo TV market there. And they hired me back. I actually thought I hit the easy button. I'm like, this is great. I was on TV in Fargo at 21 years old. I was going to college full time, anchoring on the weekends. And I had my plan all set and picked out. And thought, well, I'll work here for a few years until I'm ready and good enough to be in Minneapolis. But I always kind of like to say that the Lord kind of kicked me out. He said, you got to go experience. You got to go get out of here, because our station was sold. And so then a bunch of us were laid off. And so it's so funny because I worked all through college and then graduated college without a job. And kind of had to start over, and I applied 150 different applications before I got my next opportunity in broadcast journalism, and that was in Helena, Montana. But I was so grateful and thankful, still am. That was such a wonderful place with wonderful people, and I learned a lot. And that's kind of the I guess the story of my journey is that I've been blessed to be able to experience all these different people and cultures and places, through this journey. But I went, to Montana, then to upstate New York, and Elmira, New York, Rochester, New York, Austin, Texas, Houston, Texas, then back home to Minneapolis in 2015. And it's a dream come true. I was at KARE 11, one of the most famous, popular stations here in the state of Minnesota.
Mhm.
And I thought I would do that the rest of my life. But what really shifted, and I think, Aaron, this kind of gets to this is the context for how, why we're doing what we're doing with my town here is, I'm now a small town kid living in the big city. And just the way that small towns were talked about, and then also the way small towns were portrayed in sort of the mainstream media, just really sort of bothered me. And I didn't feel like it was an accurate representation of what was happening. And so that really led to us, myself saying there's got to be a way to help clear the air, reshape the rural narrative, and to be able to advocate for these thriving small towns. And so we'll kind of get into it, but that's really what led to me to doing my town.
Yeah, you're certainly the classic dreaming of the big city, from a rural community, and that's. But this is all now in reverse, and you're in the big city talking about the rural communities. How has your perspective on success and community evolved through this, working with small towns and my town project?
Well, there's this stigma attached to small towns that if you go back to a small town or you move back to a small town or even just choose to move to a small town that you weren't maybe talented enough or something went wrong in your life or you failed in the big city. And you see this portrayed out in mainstream media all the time. Every single Hallmark movie, the plot is, well, you didn't make it in the big city, so now you got to go back home with your tail between your legs. You're in your parents' house. And that's just not an accurate representation. And I think that's what we wanted to do is really say, well, actually, yes, you see all the time these stories that all small towns are dying and there's nothing there for you. And that's just not it. One, it's not backed up by data. And two, it doesn't really get to the point that no talented people are choosing this lifestyle and have for decades. And so we wanted to reframe it and say, no, it's a choice. People want to be here.
That's fantastic. So true. And I think that's certainly been our experience too, working with these rural communities.
Oh, absolutely. But if you don't tell the story from the perspective of someone actually living there, working there, thriving there, then it just falls on deaf ears. And that's the power of what you're doing with My Town is bringing those stories to life. And, we were wondering if this evolved out of anything unexpected, or was this something that you had kind of visioned for a long time?
Yeah, pretty unexpected, honestly, Bethany. I was sort of living the dream as a TV news anchor in Minneapolis. And I thought I would do that the rest of my life, but a couple things sort of happened all at once. One, I would hear in a newsroom often certain phrases like, "Oh, you're from a small town. Good for you. You made it." And I just felt like, wait a second, like I'm proud of where I'm from. My parents are still there. My sister's
Sure.
a teacher there. And I just thought, well, that's weird how some people look at small towns. And then also, too, working in media, you just see how these small towns are always portrayed. One, like our station, we would never go to a small town unless there's a fire or a tornado
Or the
or
accident on the interstate that kills 10 people. Yeah,
or
we
a
see that a
murder
lot.
or something, right? So,
Right.
but what that does is that is now being portrayed to a mostly urban audience that is saying, "Wow, I don't want to go to that town. Only bad stuff happens there." So it's just there were these misconceptions that are being formed about small towns. And none of it's based on data. It's just the way that the news industry works is they're not going to travel an hour and a half to the small town unless it leads. It's newsworthy.
Right.
So those are a couple things that were really bothering me. And it wasn't just the news industry. There's so many different, I guess, touch points that have led to these misconceptions. But those are the things that I was experiencing. Then you take, what I was going through. I was turning 40-ish and married with 3 little kids. And I was starting to look back at my hometown, and I would tell my wife, why am I happier when I go back home? Like I'm at peace. I feel this quality of life there. And I started to see, I was the kid who at 18 wanted to leave for the big city, but I kind of missed things that were around me. I missed those values. I missed sort of what made the county and my small town unique. And so I was starting to now as an adult appreciate those from a different lens.
Yeah.
And then what happened is I ended up getting a call from unexpectedly a call from the hometown county. So Perham is in western Minnesota, and it's in a county called Otter Tail County. There's about 55,000 people in the entire county. It's pretty big in terms of land, but there's more than 1,000 lakes. So it's beautiful. And it's a great part of the country. But they came to me and they said, hey, nobody looks at us as a place to live, work, and play. Do you have any ideas? And my thought was, well, instead of doing tourism videos, why not tell an authentic story? Maybe I go back using my story as the baseline as somebody who left but is now thinking about moving back. And then I meet with people who choose to be there. And I think that's the distinction, the choice. We meet with different people from different backgrounds, different perspectives, all different occupations, but yet they're choosing to be there for one reason or another. And then we just find out why.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. And it's really fun to see you doing this because at Golden Shovel, we've been doing our own version of this for a really long time. We create monthly content for clients. And one of our team's favorite things to do is to conduct those interviews. Because you're right, you hear from people who have chosen to be there, and the passion that they feel and they have, it's contagious. It's really exciting. And you have to dig for that story because no one is asking them, right? But when they have the opportunity to share, you just see that joy coming through. And for me, that's always really just a fantastic experience to be a part of. And obviously that's what you're doing at My Town. So I was wondering, you talk about going in and finding these diverse stories, but what is the process of actually filming an episode? Give people that are listening kind of a behind the scenes take on what they might expect if they ever had My Town in their community?
Yeah, it is. I think when you see the end product, everyone thinks, well, you show up for a couple of days, you start filming, and then you go back. But there's a lot of work that goes into it in terms of the pre-production part. So, we have an application process. So anybody watching or listening, you can apply. That would be wonderful. We'd love to hear from you. But we have this application process. We end up selecting between 7 and 8 different communities that we're going to do in a particular year. And so we will start in the fall with what we call pre-production. And so we start with the town themselves kind of form this My Town leadership team. Usually it's 3 to 4 people at the most, but then we're able to kind of go back and forth with them. We do our own research, and so we're able to bring to these conversations, hey, here's what we're seeing, here's what we're liking, what do you think about this? It's really unique for the communities because it's their life. It's just their day to day. So we end up seeing things that they're just kind of take for granted. Oh yeah, that's right. That mountain range that's right there, or the river that goes downtown, or the lakes that are here, or whatever it might be, right? So we're able to provide that outside perspective. But we have this pre-production process. We start brainstorming, themes, people, ideas, what makes your town unique, distinct, and we're trying to get diverse voices. What we ultimately want to get to is 3 different people who reflect 3 different reasons why they choose to live there. And we try to hit different sectors of occupations and whatnot, but we narrow down what is, usually hundreds of ideas down to 3 major storylines supported by supporting stories throughout. And so then we start to build out a film schedule. based on what they want to accomplish. So, what is the goal of the community? Well, the community, some of them say, well, look, we're already a tourist spot, but we want to see people, consider us as a place to work, find their next job, have that quality of life. So, perhaps we focus in on a business or somebody who started a business, right? So we really want to accomplish what the community wants to accomplish, whether it's workforce recruitment, whether it's tourism. Typically, it's both. The way that we shoot these episodes too, they're stunning. They're beautiful, and that's by design. We want people to look at these towns and say, why have I not gone there? Why have I not gone to experience it,
Right.
visit it, or maybe even consider moving back there?
Yeah, absolutely. The fact that you want it to be so visually stunning and compelling, people want to go there and visit is exactly the purpose, right? And I imagine that, 10 years later, that video is still going to be just as compelling, right? Because you're bringing out the power of those stories.
Yeah. And I didn't even finish, Bethany. I got so excited about it. But then we built out that film schedule. Some, depending on where you're at, they want us to shoot in the winter or the fall or the summer or the spring. And so then we usually go to town for about 3 full days, and we're there for 3 days, and we have a film schedule. And then after that is the post-production work. Then on to promotion, marketing, and then the episode releases, and then there's more marketing of it.
One of the things that I just really appreciate about the show, and you just kind of touched on it, about how these are people thriving that are choosing to be in these communities, and it brings out so much authenticity, just feels really real. Like that's something that's accessible and available to other people watching the show. And I really like when you go on the aside and suddenly it's just you on the camera being like, it's kind of like you went around the corner, be like, did you guys see this? Like you're bringing the viewers along with you. Like, did you see what we just saw? That's amazing. It's making me think about this. And you come up with these philosophical thoughts about what's so beautiful about those small towns. And I wanted to ask you, you've said to us that my town is part diners, drive-ins, and dives for rural communities. It's part success story. It's part documentary. What makes a community story compelling enough to break through all that noise that you talked about in the beginning?
Yeah, I think what you're getting at too, Aaron, is that's kind of the themes that are the underlying themes of the entire series. And one thing that we talk about with communities is that, they can put together a promotional piece and it can look great and it can sound great. The distinction here is that those will be typically seen by an audience as a commercial, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. Like you need to do those things. But the audience, when they see a commercial, you kind of have a defense mechanism oftentimes. It's like, oh, okay, I'm being sold something. Here, we're highlighting your community, and we're not selling anything. People will just get to hear the authentic stories. They'll get to see them through the lens of these underlying themes where people all our age, and whether they're younger, older, whatever, we all go through these things, right? That we get older, we start reflecting on our youth or maybe missed opportunities, or man, I had never thought, you see this box behind me, this My Town box. I never had thought about, how they make a box and make it perfectly fit for the seller and the product. And Watertown Box does that in Watertown, South Dakota. We profile them in season 2, and guess what? You know what? That box is holding it's holding the hopes and dreams of that company, and it's like, wow, you know what? I had never even thought about something like that. So we really try to be able to weave those sort of, as you say, philosophical portions kind of throughout the series, and that's the one thing that sort of ties it all together. In terms of like what makes a town or an episode unique, I guarantee you every single community listening has a story to tell. All of them. They all have a story to tell. What I would say is, as small towns, we need to eliminate the limited language. We use it often where it's, well, if we only had this, or remember back in the day, or we have to eliminate that.
I love that. Say it again, Cory. Everyone needs to hear that.
Eliminate the limited language. because none of that matters. What matters is that millennials and Gen Zers, those young, talented people, want quality of life. That is the number one thing they are prioritizing. And guess who offers that better than everybody? You do. So don't worry about the thing back in 1974. Don't worry about the thing back in 1990. That does not matter today. So eliminate that language. Focus in on all of the assets that you have because you have them. You also have the golden chip of quality of life. So utilize that to be able to tell your story because we have to start thinking about this. And I will say, too, we have to start raising our hand as small towns. We can't just expect people to find us. We have to raise the hand.
You are speaking gold. That is absolutely the case. And then that just totally contradicts those stereotypes that we talked about in the beginning. Do you care to share any surprising stories that were powerful or were, I don't know, maybe just surprised you that on your journey so far? Yeah, I know there's probably been a lot, but maybe a couple.
There's been a lot. There's a couple here from season 2 that I can share that I'm really excited about. I will say we've gone to now 15 different rural towns across 6 states. So, and I leave all these towns going, I could move there. Every single one. I'm like, I get it. I could move there. We could move our family there. But there's a couple that were, I would say, the experiences were so uncomfortable for me that they were so memorable. And I think that's one thing that the audience really gravitates to as well is that, we end up discovering what's unique about these towns. And then I get thrown into these experiences that are totally uncomfortable for me. But the audience and also asking stupid questions, but the audience can relate because it's like, well, I've never done that. We were in Watford City, North Dakota this year, and I was on a cattle ranch. So literally like Yellowstone, except you had a city slicker out there. Like we were driving cattle. I had to get on a horse and like make sure like this isn't like a horse at the fair where they take you around a little circle. Like I'm out like Ruby was taking me like off track sprinting. I'm trying to slow her down. And so I'm out there driving cattle back so that we can brand calves. And that whole process, the sights, the smells, and then he made me, I'm out there with cowboys and they're like, go wrestle. You got to go get the calf. So I had to wrestle down a calf and like.
How do you actually wrestle down a calf? You can't just say I wrestled down a calf. What is that?
So, you pen them and then, there's someone on a horse, they rope them, this is real life. Like they rope them and then they drag them. And then you run in and one person gets the head, one person gets the feet. And, they're telling me, hey, look, you got to hang on tight or else they're going to kick you in the head. And so it was very, very eye-opening for me, but also it's not just that, like you learn why they do it that way and why it's important and why it means so much to these people and also to the state. Agriculture is a huge industry in the state of North Dakota. And so, you kind of learn why. And that's a part of this too, is helping people understand where they might get upset hearing that story of like, oh my gosh, the treatment of, but you hear these stories and then you're like, oh, well, yeah, I get it. I mean, that's where my hamburger comes from, like these communities are feeding the world out here. And so that's what also we're trying to do is help educate people who maybe have never thought about it. And these experiences allow for that. For people to see that. Another one I would say is that we were down at a hog farm in Fairmont, Minnesota. So Fairmont is in the middle of what's the county? Shoot, I'm blanking. But Martin County. And Martin County is a top 5 pork producing county in the entire country, and the top pork producing county in the state of Minnesota. Fairmont is the proud bacon capital of the U.S., and they're very proud of this. So when they said, hey, we're going to take you to one of the top pork producing farms, family farm, 5th generation, in the country, Well, I'm thinking I'm going to a barn with pigs, no, like this is high tech. It is clean. We had to go in where to this building where there's no outside air that comes in. Like it is totally filtered off. So we go into a side door. They have us walk around, take off our shoes, walk around to a stall where we have to shower, take off our clothes, shower. They give us sanitized clothes on the other end, and then we enter into the building with filtered air, also that they can keep the pigs safe. And they've got
Wow.
thermometers or thermostats with the exact temperature that they need. They're being fed, electronically with like the exact amount of food that they need. She had told us, Angie Toothaker, one of the leaders there had said, look, these pigs eat better than humans. Like they are eating, top of the line diets. Everything is monitored, and they're pushing out, 200 and what is it, 2,200, pigs a week there. And so,
Wow.
but I had no idea. I thought I was just going to a dirty barn somewhere. But no, this is, high tech. Everything's done on apps where it's like, okay, this mother's birthing now, and insane. No idea.
Yeah, I like and by the way, it's super educational as a city boy watching it with you, with your approach, being like, "Are you guys seeing this?" Boy, it's like you don't know. We assume it's all farms, but God, but there's such contrast. Like the episode you did in Fargo, where you're taking a buffalo ear, and it's terrifying. I'm worried for you, and then a couple minutes later in the show, you're at a gourmet dinner and you're coming with the same approach. You're like, I don't know if I've eaten this well before. This is what is this again? And it's so approachable and just shows the such contrast. It's not all barns and farming. It's all sorts of unique opportunities.
Yeah, that was in Rugby, North Dakota. So a couple hours northwest of Fargo.
Rugby,
And
that's right.
yeah, Rugby, and it's like a town of 2,000 people, 60 miles south of Canada. And yet this town is everything. Ashley there at Main Street Boutique, said moved there about 10 years ago and said, you know what downtown needs? It needs a department store. And so she built one. And downtown is thriving. She's been able to adding high level cooking classes with a chef who was a top chef in Fargo, decided to move there so that he could be the hospitals, which, by the way, a brand new $65 million state-of-the-art healthcare system in a town of 2,000. Like, how do they do it? Community
Wow.
buy-in. They've got leaders there that knew this was important for their rural town. And so that's why it's a place that people want to be.
Yeah, that's really cool, Cory. And it is just so fun to have you out there having these experiences too, because getting that outside perspective, not just asking those questions, but actually being engaged in doing those activities, I think is really cool. And that's definitely something that's unique, in my opinion, with my town, is that you're giving people not only the stories of what's there, but because you're an outsider, you're also giving them a glimpse into what it might be like for them if they went and had these experiences. And you're portraying it in a way that makes it adventurous and exciting and fun, right? And I'm the consummate nerd and I love to travel. So I'm curious about everything. But for a lot of people, you kind of have to give them that little kick of inspiration, right? To pull back that curtain. So I'm definitely doing that really effectively.
Well, thank you. And I think what you're mentioning there too, Bethany, and one thing that I haven't really mentioned yet is we've talked about these experiences in these towns, but you know what? At the center of all these towns are people,
Right.
like people who are loving, caring, thoughtful, talented, welcoming, like, and that's where a lot of these misconceptions come about. Where and politics gets driven in this too, where it's like they try to separate where it's blue versus red or whatnot. But you just go to these towns, they're so happy you're there and they're excited and they're talented. And that's what we try to do. We try to break down those misconceptions and show, hey, look, no, this town is actually in it together. They all love
Right.
each other. They work together, and that's how they're able to get things done.
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And it's kind of a side conversation here, but good for all of our listeners to know. Golden Shovel, we are a strategy and communications firm. So we do help communities to develop economic development and target industry and marketing strategies. And I was actually on a call yesterday where we were reviewing some preliminary stakeholder feedback for a rural community in New York. And that's because New York State, for anyone who has not been to the East Coast, is not Manhattan. It is
Yeah.
a huge state, and a lot of it is very rural. And that was something that everyone at their leadership was saying. So from mayors to, county commissioners to people at the chamber to businesses, everyone was saying that. They're like, it doesn't matter what our politics are, we come together to collaborate and get things done. We disagree politely, we find a way to work forward because it's just us here.
Amen.
So
Yeah.
we don't care what's happening outside. It is just us. It's going to be us. We're going to find a way to get along. And so you're absolutely right. People that are looking at communities and they're looking at it from an outside lens and they're maybe painting it with the brushstroke of state politics or things they hear on the news need to remember that the news is sensationalized on purpose. At the end of the day, you're right. These communities, everyone's coming together. The story you gave of the healthcare system really exemplifies that. And they can't do it in a small community if they're at each other's throats, right? So it's really a different mindset than people realize.
Totally. Totally. I love what you just said. And look, we went to Linton, North Dakota, which is a town of 1,000 people. They don't have a stoplight, but
Hmm.
they have everything else, you know?
Oh, wow.
And we're there and literally we're met with waves and, hey, you want to come have brunch with me? Do you want to have dinner with me? Like people are like that. They're excited to have you. They want to show you around because they're proud of their town.
Sure. Yeah, and that's really what it comes down to, right? Is being proud of where you are. So for everyone who's listening, something that's so important for you to remember is that your community may not be a major metro. It may not be metro adjacent. You may not have an international airport. You may have seen changes. Like Cory mentioned, in 1974, the major employer may have gone away. But you're still amazing and you still have great stories to tell. And I think that if we can get people to just reassess where they are and who they are through that lens of pride, then that joy that they feel is contagious and it will attract the investment and the growth that they want to see to help their community sustain long term.
Mhm.
And speaking of those people who actually are very excited about the opportunity to share their pride, My Town is a great way to do it. And I know you're accepting applications for next season.
Yeah.
So can you walk through that process?
Absolutely. We are accepting applications for season 3. So 2 seasons so far. One is out there. We were fortunate enough last year, season 1, we were selected into the Twin Cities Film Fest. So we premiered there. 7 episodes across 4 states came out last fall. And now this summer, spring and summer, we've been filming. We just finished up filming season 2. We're in the post-production process. So 8 new episodes across 5 states will come out now starting November 2nd through December 21. But right now we've been greenlit for a season 3. So we are accepting applications, for season 3. And what I would say is that, by design, we've been sort of in the upper Midwest for the first 2 seasons. We've been so thankful and excited by the response and the growth. Like we're getting, applications from around the country. So we've made a decision that, that's what we want to do. We have the ability to go anywhere. So if you're watching or listening from, Ohio, Kentucky, Texas, New York, Maryland, wherever you're at, we have the ability to come to you. So if you are interested, we would love to hear from you and hear your story, because we'd love to make it happen and profile you in season 3.
All right, Cory. So you have to give them ways to do that. Do you want them to email you, go to your website? What's the next step?
Yeah, we do. If people, check out the series at, My Town on YouTube. We're also on Facebook and LinkedIn and Instagram as well. But YouTube is where the full episodes will live. And so, yeah, people can watch them there. There's always links in pretty much every single episode on how to get a hold of us there. But also right here, just send us an email, our team an email at info@mytownseries.com. So again, just info@mytownseries.com. Very easy. Send us an info and we can send you that application.
Thank you, Cory.
That sounds wonderful. Cory, I was just thinking, the opportunity that you provide these communities and for them to be able to tell their story. We always see that economic development's more of a river than a lake. The change is a constant, and especially in rural communities, there's fear of change, losing those values. What happens if we grow too big, or what happens if too many of us city slickers show up, and screw it all up? And what your show's done is shown the values so that the people that are interested in living there, that could see themselves thriving, and the businesses that could go there and see themselves thriving, align with that vision. So you're steering that canoe down the river to get to those right people and get to those right businesses versus being pushed around sideways down the river. We're trying to stop it somehow, which just isn't an option. And so really wonderful. I think before we get into the end of our shovel talk, just I want to say thank you again.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to let all of our listeners know that if today was really great because we got to hear more about Cory's story. And I think that's so important to understand what is behind someone's vision. But if you really want to get more into the details of Cory's best practices for how to communicate your story and what it looks like to actually be a guest on My Town or any type of television series, I encourage you to register for our free webinar that's going to be on September 10th. You can go to goldenshovelagency.com and there is going to be a link to register in our resource learning library. Again, that's going to be on September 10th. And I know Cory is going to be sharing so many great takeaways that you guys are not going to want to miss it. Whether you think you want to be on My Town or not, this is going to be a very valuable session and it's free to attend. So please do register.
Yeah, can't wait, you guys.
Yeah, it's going to be a good one. And so now we have reached the point in our podcast where you have to play a game, Cory. So this is our shovel toss game where we are going to be asking you 10 questions. We are going to time you and we're going to see how many you can get answered in 1 minute. So this has to be off the cuff responses. And everyone, Cory has not been prepped for this, so he doesn't know what we're going to ask.
Oh boy, it's like on with Family Feud with Steve Harvey here. Always looks easy from the outside, but
yeah, we'll see how you do. Can you answer 10 questions in 1 minute?
Okay.
Are you ready?
Yep.
Okay. If you could instantly master any skill, what would it be?
Flying.
Go-to karaoke song.
Sweet Caroline.
What's on your travel bucket list?
Alaska.
What's a food combination you love but others think is weird?
I have celery, carrots, cucumbers in a pack every single day.
What is the first thing you do if you were invisible?
Probably sleep.
If your life had a theme song, what would it be?
Oh my gosh. Oh man, dang it. Theme song. The Perfect Strangers theme song, Standing Tall.
Got it. Pineapple on pizza, yes or no?
No.
What fictional character would you swap lives with?
Bruce Wayne.
First car.
S10, Chevy S10.
All right, and what do you want to be remembered for?
Great dad, great husband, and a Christian.
All right. So you did well. You answered all of them. I think that the food question threw you because you were at 1 minute and 22 seconds.
Jeez. Yeah, no kidding. And those are easy. They're like your own personal things, but I think you don't want to like screw up and say something you didn't really. And the theme song one too. I was thinking of like I overthink those things, but
Right.
Just like if you were finally invisible, you just get some sleep.
oh,
Yeah, I
it'd be
like
great.
that answer.
No one would bug me. It'd be great.
Yeah, so that clearly is a dad answer, right? We're all parents on this particular podcast recording. And if
Yeah.
you didn't have young kids, you'd never say that.
Yeah, no, for sure. But yeah, the food thing though, my food is pretty regimented, and that's why it took me so long. Is that well, when we're filming, it's a little bit different, but like during the year, I'm like, and the people that I work with and whatever, they laugh at me because I basically pack chicken, jerk seasoned chicken with vegetables and yogurt every single day. And they're like, how do you do that every single lunch and dinner every day? I don't know. I just,
So maybe that actually is your weird food combination. It's the
That's
fact
right.
that it is the same thing. And that
Yeah.
that actually is a little weird, Cory.
I
So
think that is very, yeah.
there you go. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for playing. We had a lot of fun chatting with you today. I can't wait for that webinar on September 10th so people can learn more about my town and your process.
You guys, you're just the best. And I really appreciate you having me on, and then really appreciate your work too. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Cory. What a pleasure. Look forward to seeing you on the webinar.
Thank you, Bethany and Aaron. If you did not get enough of Cory Hepola, but wait, there's more. September 10th, he will be joining us for a GSA webinar, Lights, Camera, My Town, How to Tell Stories That Put Your Community on a Map. September 10th, noon Central. You can register for that under our Resource Learning Center at goldenshovelagency.com. Just go to the webinars page and fill out the form and hit submit, and you can join that webinar. Producer Darren here, saying goodbye to another episode of Shovel Talk. We'll see you soon.